Hello, folks. Hope you're well. If you are loving the podcast, long-term fan, you've maybe been listening to a few episodes and like it, please make sure that you're subscribing to my Sunday Thoughts email newsletter that I send every Sunday. I give some perspective on self-improvement, and it's just some nice thoughts on a calming day. Also, if you're loving the podcast, I do a paid subscription of 99p a month where you get an extra episode on a Friday, which is a little bit more personal, and obviously a bonus episode, and any exclusive first access to any projects that I'm working on as well. So, if you want to do that, go for it. Otherwise, enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Self-Improvement Project. I hope you are all well. I hope you are looking forward to spring, the second season of the year, past the midst of winter, and always a season of opportunity and possibility as well. I hope I've had a lot of long-term habits on my mind, sustainability, a lot around the longevity of our habits and self-improvement overall. And I'll obviously share a lot of that with you today. And through that comes the thoughts around how life is a game. We have levels, we have times where we're maybe doing well and times where we're maybe not doing so well. And this is so important to recognize from our perspective and from a psychological point of view as well. We can sometimes think in extremes where one day we think, I'm set for life and I could do this forever. And then the next day you have that feeling of existentialism where you think, what's the point? Again, I'm talking in these extremes to portray the point that I want to make. A lot of us, and perhaps naturally or perhaps societally, we aim for stability in everything that we do. And we think that's a positive, but this stability that we're looking for actually has a negative impact on our outlook and our mindset. We are forever progressing. We need to fly the nest. We need to spread our wings. That is a huge part of our motivation in order to achieve, even though we know deep down that that's the case. We look for that stability, even though it's a detriment to ourselves. Through instability, it brings thoughts to mind around fortitude, resilience, perseverance. These words that are connotated with pain and suffering, but for good reason. The character that we build through going through these emotions are key. They're key to developing ourselves, to becoming better versions of ourselves. I'm not saying that we need to do it all the time, but if we avoid those throughout life, we'll never really showcase to ourselves what we were capable of. There will have been times where you've been low and you've managed to step up and come through. You've gone through the storm and come out the other side. And it's hard and tough to define, but it comes from something deep within you, even though that experience in the moment is very tough. It's always a test, and even though we've gone through it before, we're always scared of it. Again, knowing that on the other side, we'll be fine. At times, it can be our best teacher. There's a good reason that hindsight is talked about like a superpower. And it can be frustrating. The frustrating things when we're going through tough times is that uncertainty. That uncertainty complemented by the fact that nobody else knows exactly what you need because nobody else has ever been or is in your own unique situation. I think, and feel free to tell me I'm wrong, I think this is where I come in. I think this is where the Self-Improvement Project helps. I feel that this podcast, my writing, it gives perspective. I'm not here to tell you what to do, what the solutions are, how to be. I'm giving you perspective around what might aid or help you at that time. And that's my first point. I want to talk about perspective and not advice. Advice and lessons are helpful sometimes. I feel they are quite related to dopamine, that instant satisfaction we get. But a lot of the time it's not relevant. It can only be relevant in the moment that you need it. It can inspire, but as we know, inspiration and motivation dies off very quickly. Perspective, on the other hand, is just an alternative view. It's an alternative view with zero expectations upon it. You can take it, you can process it, you can absorb it and digest it and use it how you will. You can use it in your own way. Look, don't get me wrong, advice can be very useful for having a script or having a layout of how you should do things, which is useful sometimes, but not all the time. Perspective can help soften those doubts that you're having. It can reassure you that it's okay to feel the way that you're feeling. You probably realize that you're being more harsh on yourself than you would on other people. There's definitely a paradox name for that, and I can't recall it right now. But you begin to understand that when you take this perspective or you hear this perspective and based on your circumstances, you're actually doing a pretty good job. Another thing that we need to understand with this game of life, on top of using perspective and advice when useful, is we need to go back to our bases. It's important that whenever we're striving for things that we reassess, we take time to reflect and reassess all of our basic needs. Our health, our exercise, our diet, our sleep, our relationships, our social life. These things that are fundamental and underpin everything that you do day in, day out. These are the things that help us function as a human being. And no wonder you're maybe not feeling great if any of these are out of tune. I think a nice way to describe it is that you're constantly swimming upstream if you're not taking care of these fundamentals and these foundations. So it's always important to go and do a little check on yourself. Make sure that these things are in the best shape possible to give you the best opportunity. Look, they're never going to be perfect. I think it's important to say that. But if they're out of balance, being aware of that is so key. And the last thing with this game of life to excite you and to energize you and give you that hope is thinking about your future, building the future for yourself. getting excited about all the possibilities that are in front of you. The possibilities of things that you have control over. Whether it's having that conversation with someone, whether it's taking that first step in the gym or with running. Could it be related to your career or your job, your own little project, moving to a location that you don't know anything about? These big changes can sometimes be the most invigorating things that you will ever do. It's important here to remember that this is not going to remove or eliminate all the negative feelings from your life. But by thinking about the future, it gives you that hope, and importantly, it gives you that direction that you maybe need when you're doubting yourself, when you feel a bit stuck. So hopefully those little checkpoints, I guess, are giving you a bit of a platform to play with. It's a bit of inception here, but again, this is my perspective. This is me giving you the opportunity to think, giving you the chance to prepare yourself, knowing that there's levels to these games based on the stage and phase of life that you're at in your current situation. Don't be too harsh on yourself. Give yourself that backing and that opportunity. That self-belief that we have within ourselves can be so key to unlocking a lot of the positivity that we can have in life. As I've maybe mentioned before, when those times are tough, be your best friend. Go easier on yourself. And when things are going good, that's the time to be a bit harsher on yourself. Think around what has got you there and what do you need to keep doing to keep building upon the greatness that you've got. And that's us today. I hope that's been useful for you guys. As always, thank you very much for listening. I'll pose a question on the Spotify Q&A for you. I'll pop a poll on there for you as well that I hope you enjoy and find useful. And as ever, if you ever want to write to me, share your story, share your thoughts, your own self-improvement journey, it is honestly my favourite thing about this whole project. So reach out, whether you're new, whether you're a long-term listener, and I will see you all next time. Cheers. Hey guys, me again. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and if you're not ready for the Becoming Unstuck in 30 Days self-led course quite yet, why don't you try my free ebook I created? 5 simple steps to improve yourself and your life. I made this during the very first lockdown of the pandemic in the early days of the self-improvement project. It's a quick go-to when you're feeling unsure what to work on when improving yourself or your lifestyle. And the great starting point if you're trying to figure out how to live a more fulfilling and simple life. The link for this will be in the show notes for you. Have a good one.